So in terms of refereeing the breakdown and that side of things, what do we think? It's going to be I'm going to try and make it as interactive as possible, so you guys are going to give me all the answers. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. But we'll try and help out as much as possible. If not, what are we trying to find in terms of refereeing the breakdown? What are our challenges that we're finding as referees throughout the games at all the levels? Anyone got any thoughts? You don't have to raise. You don't have.
There in time to see the first fence.
Make sure you're there in time to see the first fence. That's good. Is that something that we can affect? Of course, yeah. We've got to be fit enough, and we've got to be able to get to those positions. What are the things that we're trying to find in terms of interactions that we've got and of refereeing the breakdown? What are the challenges that we've got most of the time through the game? Anyone got any thoughts? Yep. Clear pictures of the breakdown, that is a massive key one. What we'll do with the Fetties boys later on is trying to give you those clear pictures, because I don't know about you guys, I used to play at Tynedale down in Northumberland, so I used to be there Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday all the time. When you're playing and when you're coaching and when you're training, you have lots of time and lots of experience to practice what goes on a weekend, because you'll go through your drills, you'll go in and you'll practice clearing out in a ruck, you'll practice your scrums, you'll practice your line out, so when it gets to a Saturday, everything's drilled down. Whereas we as referees, we don't get that opportunity as much because we don't just turn up on a Saturday, but most of the time we'll turn up on a Saturday. You might not have seen a ruck unless you've watched it back on a game on a Monday. You might not have seen a ruck since last Saturday. So it's quite difficult to be able to get that practice and that recurring picture in your mind and cement it in there. So in terms of an add-on to that, I think lots of us will have been involved with a rugby club once upon a time, and I try and when I've got the opportunity to go down to Tynedale as much as possible to actually get myself back involved and immersed in that game, so you can practice things, you can run around, so you see it on a Tuesday, you see it on a Thursday. You don't necessarily have to do it all the time because we've got other things to do, but you're getting to see those pictures more frequently, and likewise you can then practice, because if you go to a club, you'll get to know the people, you get to know the players, you'll be able to sit with them and talk them through it, because what I find, having played, and then also I did a bit of coaching, I was a community rugby coach. I don't know what they call them in Scotland. Do they do community rugby coaches? Community rugby coaches as well. And then went into the refereeing. So you've got that trifecta of different sort of skills and different positions that you're coming from. So you look at it as a round that can only help you improve yourself as a referee, but also for these guys as well as players and likewise as coaches. Something that I try and bang on as much as possible about is to get everyone involved in refereeing, so they, one, have an understanding of the law. It's amazing. I'm sure you'll all know how many coaches and players have no idea what the laws are, but it's really important, as far as I'm concerned, to improve you as a rugby player if you know and understand the law, and likewise in terms of the refereeing and coaching and playing. If you can do all of them as much as possible, then it gives you that sort of whole view, 360 degrees picture of what the game is. So that's a really good point in trying to get your pictures there. What else in terms of us as referees, when you're going into a breakdown, what are your priorities? Has anyone got any priorities when they get to the breakdown? You've got three. We'll come to you in a minute. I know you answered the first one. Anyone else got any other priorities?
I pick on 5 things, just when we're talking about it. I'm often asked as a coach, what's the best position?
Yep.
And I think the position is that, are you there quickly? Have you located the ball? Are you getting away from it? But also, are you those are the 5 principles you try to get onto a young position. It's not about position. We can discuss further. I think those 5 things are the things. Because if you're in the way that you stand up, if you're not ready to follow.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think positioning is a massive part of that breakdown. And like you say, it breaks it up into parts. You've obviously got, rugby's a fluid game. It just doesn't just happen. It's not like American football where you have one play, it stops, and then you have a time to rest and you can recoup and think about, oh, what did I do in that last breakdown, or what did I do in that last phase of play? It's continually going. But as you said, it's one of those ones where we've got to assess and continually assess as we're coming up to that breakdown or the tackle situation, which is going to become a breakdown, and then how we're going to move on from that. So it's not just a one-dimensional thing that we're looking at. You've got all different varieties coming on and variations. And as you said, the pre-breakdown situation, how are you going to get there? Are you going to be ball-centric? Because that's the main bit that I sort of try and focus on, especially at the breakdown side of things. Be ball-centric, because that's the main thing you're worried about. the ball is the most important thing because that is possession. So if you've got the ball, you've got possession, you can play with it in terms of a playing scenario, but then likewise in terms of refereeing, if you're centric and ball-centric on what's happening at that breakdown, you've got a better idea and understanding as to what everyone else is going to try and achieve in terms of players, as to where they're coming from, what they're going to be doing, and what their actions are going to be. So yeah, absolutely, in terms of pre-tackle and pre-ruck, we have to have that positioning. We've got to get ourselves into the right position. Also, what we do, rugby is very grey. It's not black and white. There's lots of different things. There's loads of different players. I think in a Premiership game, you've got around about 200 rucks in a game. And if you think about that, if you've got 200 rucks, you've got to make at least 200 decisions. But at every ruck, you've got a tackler, you've got a ball carrier, you've got the first man that comes in, the second man and the third man. For each of those, you've got 5 different people, 6 different people that are going to be involved in that breakdown at the very least. And then for each of those, you either got to make a decision or a non-decision. So if you've got 200 rucks, times that by 6, I'm not a mathematician, but it's a hell of a lot of decisions. And that's just one part of the game. So there's always got to be things constantly going on in your mind, and where you're looking and what your pictures are, what you're going to be searching for in terms of, am I seeing this correctly? Can I make my decision, or am I not going to make a decision? But then likewise, I say, it's very grey. The other thing that we have to do is, or we don't have to, but we can choose to, is manage that ruck. Rather than sanction it, you manage it. And it's then getting that balance to say, right, well, actually, am I going to penalise it, or am I going to manage it and tell, right, they've slowed it up a little bit, but they haven't slowed it up enough. I can still talk this person off. Or if he or she's in a bad body position, good body position, can I get that ball away without having to blow a whistle? Because not everyone, despite what some people think as referees, not everyone comes to watch the referee blow his whistle all day long. They want to see a game of rugby develop, and they want to have a bit of continuity and a bit of running around. So yeah, absolutely, in terms of positioning, that is really key and really important to try and get ourselves in there. Your 3, sir, I can't see what your name is. Trevor? Yep. 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 Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important in terms of, as you're a referee, to have those priorities and make sure that you're trying to referee every ruck consistently by having those same priorities and giving the same bit of leeway that you give to one team as you do to another with all those 3. And if you couldn't hear what he said, it was looking at the tackler, making sure that tackler gets in, effective tackle, but then also gets out of the way and doesn't get in the way of either arriving players or the scrum half who's going to come and try and clear the ball away. He's also, in terms of, if you've got another arriving player who's going to try and challenge for that ball, that he comes in from the right time, or a tackle or assist, make sure he's got that clear release and then actually attacks the ball and gets himself into a good body position. I've prepped the lads up already. They're going to probably test you a little bit in terms of good and bad body position, so you can get those pictures in your mind as what's going to be good, what's going to be bad, what's supporting your body weight. And then, yeah, all the other arriving players as they're coming in through the gate on that side. Any other queries or thoughts in terms of priorities that you've got at breakdowns? Yes. Oh, sorry. We've got a hand up there. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. No, I think that's really key as well, because you've always got those con artists that try and milk a breakdown penalty by holding someone in. And if you just look at them, and it again comes back to being in the right position, being able to see it. But if you get yourself in there, and you don't even have to say something sometimes. You can just look at the player who's holding him in, just go, I'm not giving it. Or you just look at him, and then he'll let go, and then you let the ball come away. So yeah, that's an important one as well. And then you, sir, in the green top, sir? Yeah. Speaking from experience, it's not much fun when Will Skelton screams at you from behind your left shoulder saying, ref, get out the way, as he's trying to come in and hit a breakdown. He was 130 kilos when he played at Saracens, and thankfully I didn't go on the floor because I managed to dodge out the way just in time. Yeah, it's really important to have that awareness and sort of peripheral view and understanding of where people are going to be coming from. So we talked about the chariot position earlier on, which is a nice, safest position. But when I also mentioned management, there's going to be an effect of your management. So if you're too close, yes, you might be able to manage people, but the alternative is that you might get clattered by someone who's going to come in and try and clear that breakdown. If you're too far away, the players aren't going to be able to, one, potentially hear you, and equally, you may not be able to manage them in time. By the time you've seen it, it's computed and it's gone back, and you've tried to say something, they're not going to be able to hear you because there's lots going on. So yeah, there's that balance of being too close, too far, and it's a real skill and art to try and make sure you're getting into the right position for every breakdown. And it's not going to be the same for every time. You have to vary your position because you might be seeing different pictures. And that's where, if you get to a position where you're going to be working with assistant referees as well, is having that triangular sort of thing, so you're all not looking at the same thing in the same picture. So if you're all standing right next to your assistant referee looking at a breakdown, it's not going to be the best thing because you're both looking at the same thing and you might miss something that's going on the other side of the breakdown. So yeah, that's perfect. And it's a good point you make in terms of making sure you don't get clattered, because we need to keep refereeing. It's not like we can get subbed off that easily and someone else can come and take our place. Grant, any other queries in terms of that? And any other priorities that we've got?
Just having the clear comms. You see something, saying it quickly but clearly that they understand, and saying it before and after what your expectations are for them, setting it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, terminology in terms of that clear communication is vital. I mean, it's something that we try and practice, and it may sound a bit weird and a bit odd, but you can practice that sort of stuff at home if you really want to, and talk it into a mirror in terms of what you're going to be saying to people on a pitch, and just making sure you use the same language over and over again. I'll say not over and over again, but use the same language at various breakdowns, because if they hear that once, great, they'll understand it. If they hear it a second and a third time, it's the same thing, perfect. But if you vary it up and you try and use different words and explain things differently, it will just confuse people. When you're in the bottom of a ruck and your head's buried in the bottom of it, you're not going to be able to have that time and forethought to be able to think, oh, right, what's someone saying 5 meters away? He's shouting at me. It's something different this time. I'm not quite understanding what he's saying. But yes, absolutely. Clear communication, so you can give those nice, clear instructions on that point. Grand. In terms of the sort of theory side of things, what we'll try and do now is take a little bit onto the pitch, and we're going to use the Fetties chaps, so we'll work ourselves back out again onto the pitch, and we'll do a couple of demonstrations, and then we might try and see if we can get some involvement thereafter practically. Not going to go too full on. Right, so we'll just bring ourselves up so we can get along this side so we can see them from the side in that sense. Perfect. We just need one. There's another ball over there if you want to have a couple of options. Okay. You can rest for now at the moment. We'll just use the one tackler. So what we're going to work at, we talked about the first priority with the chap here mentioned the first priority in the first instance is that tackler. So for this demonstration, what we're going to be doing is have him on his knees. He's going to run in, make the tackle, and then he's going to roll one way or t'other. One of the support players from, what we're going to call this, maroon and brown side of things is going to come in and act like the 9. So effectively what we want to have is that really clear space, really clear opportunity for the next person either to come in and compete for the ball or for a man to come in, either secure it or pass the ball away. So it's just working out, roll whichever way you want, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have a bit of a vote on, we decide on if this guy's done a good job or he's done a bad job, okay? And you can act as the 9, you can put the ball down, act as the 9 after that. You can go in as steady as you like. Don't run over him too hard, but yeah, go in and make an effective tackle. Off we go. So yeah, in terms of that one, nice and easy. All he's done, roll out the back. Ball carries helped him quite a lot. You were talking about holding people in, playing it a little bit canny by trying to keep people in. What he's done is actually been pretty positive. He's rolled back another way, trying to get himself out of there and trying to make sure he's got the ball back to his other team. Keep working around in a couple of cycles, work your way around. Maybe choose alternate shoulders so we can see and roll out differently if we can, young man who's on the floor on his knees. You guys work yourselves up to be the next ones in. Yeah, so what do I reckon on that one? It's good. I did prep him a little bit and say don't roll out the same way every time. So yeah, it's that nice clear picture we're seeing. He's lying in the way and he gets himself rolled over into the way of the 9 and into the man with the ball carrier who's going to be in the way. So it's just, as I hope I would look at it and say, well, it's quite a simple picture. Nice and easy, he's getting in the way. If anyone's got any questions on any of these at any time, by all means, shout up. You got your hand up? Yeah.
So if there's no 9, it's not really affecting play.
Correct.
It's affecting play, slow it down.
Yeah. Exactly. So we'll do a bit of a pause. Repeat that one again. I know it's different players, so no, you stay where you are, but repeat it. You watched it. You see what he's done. So he's hit to the right. If we just pause it there where he rolls over the top. So he's there. Pause there. So it's still on. That's fine. So yeah, if you're looking at that position, that's fine. You can rest because you're going to get a sore arm if you keep yourself up like that for too long. If we pause in that position, you're right in saying we can't just look at this as solely focused on what's happening here, because if there's no other support players around, if we blow a penalty and then half a second later or less than that, the next person arrives, nothing's really been affected. The speed of ball's not been affected. So it's having that wider vision and understanding when we're coming into the ruck. I can't remember where that chap's gone who asked the first question. He's hidden somewhere. As he said, in terms of running into that ruck, we've got to see what else is going on. If it's a wide break, we've got to make sure that if there are close support players, we've got to give them an opportunity to play the ball. If there's no one there, you've got a little bit of more leeway. You can help manage the situation. You can talk them out and say, quick, tackle a roll out the way. He rolls out the way, happy days. The next man can come in and do that. So yeah, perfect point in terms of where we're looking to have a bit of continuity and a bit of decision making, that wider peripheral vision to make sure we don't have to blow the whistle. Keep going and work ourselves round. We'll have 2 or 3 more on this side of things, and then we're going to bring in some extra players who are going to be competing at that breakdown. Off you go. Perfect. So yeah, nice and easy, simple picture in that sense. What we'll do now is we're going to bring in a tackler assist. So we're going to have 2 of you on the floor, please, next to each other. Try not to bang heads, so give yourselves about 1 metre of space in between each other. So what you'll do is one side or the other. If you go down to your knees, if that's possible, you can stay on your feet because you're going to be the tackler assist. You're going to go one side or the other. Just hold on 2 seconds, I'll explain it a little bit more. So you're going to go one side or the other. What you're going to do is then kind of look to get a hold of the ball carrier before he goes down to deck. Show me a clear release and then get on the ball. Understand that? Understand? Happy? Go. Go for it. Yep. So it shows that clear release on the ball as soon as you can. Hands on. Yeah. Okay. So that's a little bit of a run-through demonstration. We'll go for it again. That was perfect. As we get on the ball as quick as we can. So off we go. Work from that side. Same again. Doesn't matter which way you go. Yeah, so it's a nice clean picture. You leave the ball on the ground, but get yourself in a good, strong position. Hands over, hands on the ball. Nice low body center of gravity. That's a pretty clear picture in terms of us as a referee. Tackler's got out pretty quickly. Stay there if you will, young man, where you are. So what kind of things and what kind of triggers, if you could just step back a bit so these guys can see, what kind of triggers do you think we're looking for as a referee here to make sure and for us to tell us that he's in a good, strong body position? Okay, supporting himself. So positive, I think positive, yes, I would agree as a concept. In terms of actual key cues, what can we sort of deduce? Supporting body weight, how do we think that he's supporting his body weight? What can be our triggers? Yeah, absolutely. So if he's got, if I'm all right, just head and shoulders above his hips like that, he can support his body weight that way. If he does it the other way around and shoulders are right down, you can see already he's overbalancing. He's having to try and support himself with his hands. So yeah, that's a key one. Anything else that we've got? You can stand up for a moment, give you a rest. Yeah, perfect. So if you go down, I'll give you a rest and give you a bit of demonstration. So yeah, if his hands go past the ball like that, you never get there, but he can then bring it back onto it if he gets cleared out. We see that quite a lot when guys are just trying to win that battle and that speed into the breakdown. Players going as fast as they can because they're trying to get there quickly, but they go past and they get themselves past the ball, hands on the ruck, and then they come back onto it. It's a really key one where they're not actually obviously competing legally. So it's a really key picture and really key incentive to try and find that early doors and try and stop it. And you see a lot of the time when you see it on the telly and all that sort of side, they'll give a penalty and they'll do that one, do that little flappy hands on the ruck. Any other ones? Knees. Yeah. So what in terms of knees, you're talking about knees on play. I won't lead on. I'm not that heavy, but yeah, knees on ground or knees on players. Absolutely. I think another one as well, which is really important, as well as knees, is foot placement. So if you can, as you're coming into the breakdown, if you think someone's on their toes, you've not got much of a stable base to be on your toes. So it's having that heels, weight through the heels on that side of things. If you're seeing guys who are on their toes, similar to the lad who had it earlier, when I lowered his body height and I put his shoulders below his hips, he lost that balance, he went onto his toes, and then he's falling forward. So all of those are really key pictures in terms of the jackal. as to how he's going to be in that strong position and how he's going to be able to legally affect the ball. Has anyone else got any others? Talk to me, tell me if it's legal or not.
It's called bridging.
So we're talking as a supporting player and jackling on like and holding on like that. Yeah. So yeah, in terms of law, bridging I think would be something slightly different potentially, where you're not supporting your body weight. If you're doing that one, sorry, I'm putting a little bit more weight on you. But in terms of holding on to someone on the floor, I think technically you probably shouldn't be able to do it in law. However, we do see quite a lot of it, because then if someone tries to clear me out, you can then shift and you've got double the body weight and you can survive and survive in that ruck a little bit longer. I think in terms of the jackal side of things, which we're looking at the moment, you can jump up now, thank you. In terms of the jackal side of things, yeah, I think it is one where we don't tend to find that players anchor onto anyone else apart from the ball as much as they can. But in terms of the support players, yeah, it does happen. My opinion on it is it's a positive sort of mantra. If it is a positive play and if they are trying to secure their ball and they're isolated, I don't mind too much, so long as they don't go for that bridge and then completely seal off at that breakdown, would be what I would say. So we're just going to set that bit up now. So what we'll do is have a tackler on the floor, a jackler there ready to be there and clear him out, and then we'll have one man who's going to come in and try and be a supporting player and clear him out. Does that make sense? So ball carrier on the floor, a jackler plus one clearer, if that's all right. So you're going to be the clearer, young man. 16 of you can go down on the ball, be tackled. Yeah, young man with the kinesio tape. If we just go, we're not going to do long presentation just at the moment. We'll just do sideways, if that's all right. Makes pictures a little bit easier. So you're going to get yourself on the ball. Yeah, and then we're going to look to see how we're going to clear him out. In terms of us as referees, I think we're pretty happy with this picture. He can sink a little bit lower in the knees if he wants to. So he's got his hips a little bit lower, but he has got long legs, so it's a little bit more difficult for him. He's not maybe your stereotypical 7. But yeah, so I think we've got a pretty good picture there. And then as well, in terms of us as referees, how long do you think we're going to wait? If he's got his hands on the ball, how long are we going to wait until we potentially give a penalty, or we'll let someone come in and clear him out?
I want to see the ball lifted.
Sorry, just one at a time. Not seen him lift it. Okay, good point.
Ball needs to be lifted.
Ball needs to be lifted. Okay, if he's trying to pull at the ball, then how long are we going to be waiting? Straight away.
He doesn't hold on. He holds on when they go early, so he's not going to get absolutely flattered.
Okay, so we've got a straightaway. We've got not necessary straightaway. Immediately. Okay, so it's the time it takes you to spell out or say immediately in the phonetics. Yeah.
Look at where his head is.
Yep.
He's already done something positive. He should be getting the ball right now. If he doesn't pick that ball up and you think he should be getting a penalty, you give it because it's effective player.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a number of factors that come into that decision and the timing of that decision making. Number one, as we've said, if he's being positive and he's trying to steal the ball, we want to reward him for being positive. Number two is a player safety element of it as well, because who's in the vulnerable position here? Is it this chap who can see everything? It's the guy on the floor, or it's not the guy on the floor. It's a guy who's over the ball and trying to steal it. He's vulnerable. He's got important bits exposed and potentially could be hit. Not intentionally, obviously, but potentially could be hit. So it's one of those ones where we want to protect the players and reward them for being positive or having a positive play or being good in what they're doing, because that ultimately, in terms of rugby, is what it's about. It's a contest at the breakdown, making sure that we reward the players who are doing a good job at contesting for the ball. You can stand up now, sir. So what we'll do is we'll go through and run that live. So we've got that picture, and then I'll time your release as to when you're going to potentially come and clear him out. We're not going to go full bore. Please don't take his head off. But what we'll do is we'll just run it through. Man carries in, gets tackled. You'll get yourself back up and onto the ball as quickly as you can, and I'll release you at different points, okay? And then what I want you guys to do on the sidelines and watching, if we want to, we'll have a bit of a demonstration exercise. Find, a little bit of space, so you're not going to hit someone in the face. if you put your arm up in the direction you think you're going to blow the penalty at a time when you think is appropriate. So I'll have a bit of a watch to see when everyone's arm's going up, if it goes up at all, or if someone's going to play advantage or if someone's going to manage. Okay? So we'll just run it through slowly to start with. Just go at half pace. If you're on your knees to start with, young man, it just keeps it nice and safe for us. Off we go. So you're going to get up as quickly as you can. Go. And try and get on the ball. Good. Okay? No one blowing any penalties there? Happy? Perfect. So I'll let him off quite quickly so that he can get there early before we've got that close support. We'll do it again. I'll run it through. If you guys want to go and grab the other ball, we'll have a second group so not everyone's using the same players. Right, off we go again. Go for it. I'm going to hold you. Go. Go now, go now, go now. So he's got himself on the ball. Perfect. Anyone blowing any penalties yet? No? Good. That's fine. Nice clean game. 0 penalties. This is a great game, isn't it? We'll get the next group in. Next demonstration. Same group. He's going to be the tackler because he's in the pink, you're in the blue. Yeah. So you're going to come in and be the support player. Oh. So when you get on the ball, try it hard and quickly get on the ball. Go now. We've had 1, 2 penalties. No one else? No lift? Okay. There we go. So yeah, it's making sure that we've got that clear picture. I know it's difficult when we're seeing and we're looking from different angles. You might not be at that side of the breakdown potentially sometimes. So it's just making sure we do that. Next group, we just work our way in, funnel ourselves in on that side. While I'm talking to them, we just work the next group in, going round over. And you guys talk between yourselves as to which way you're going to do it, so I don't know either, so we can talk about it thereafter. Okay? Off we go. Yeah, go. Too slow. Okay, yeah, too slow, so we've got to be quick off the floor. Next boy, next group in. Yeah, next group in. Off we go. So we've got to be quick on the floor. I'll release the player on the second time. Off we go. Go for it. Yeah. Yeah, too easy, too easy. I'm going to have to release them a bit slower. Let's keep working ourselves around. Cole's helping me. He's giving them a few tips on how we're going to be doing it, so that's grand. Perfect, yeah. Yep. So get themselves on, get themselves up. Perfect. Counter ruck. Is that, what do you reckon? Any hands going up? So why? What was the problem? Okay, so we weren't that happy in terms of what he did there. So he came through and he was Spider-Man. He was Spider-Man crawling on the floor. What would we say potentially? We can come back in and restart that side of things. What would we be looking for if we're not looking at Spider-Man? If he gets himself across that gain line, we'll call it, what else are we looking for instead? If obviously he's not going to have his hands on the floor, but what could he do positively? Yeah, I think driving straight, it doesn't necessarily have to be straight as far as I'm concerned. If you're at this position here, or you're here, you don't necessarily have to keep going north-south. You can go at an angle, but from my side, is what it would be. Rather than being here, it's binding onto shorts, waist, and all that sort of side of things. So you boys start yourselves again on that position. No, you can stay down, sorry. If you get yourself in and over early, go down in your initial position really low, hands on the floor, and then you pick yourself up and bind onto him and drive him out that way. Lift his leg if you really want to. Perfect. So it's getting that difference, that understanding. You all picked it up. I probably missed it because I wasn't watching properly. Is that he was Spider-Man through. Very key in terms of when we're getting to that position and we're seeing people go in there is, have they still got their body? Because the picture could change 3 or 4 times in the space of a split second. Because he might go for the ball, he might think, oh, I'm too slow, this guy's going to come in and clatter me, I'm just going to get past and win because he's got a support player coming behind him who's going to pick it up. And then he might have his hands still low, his body center of gravity is really low, and he's got to change his position. He's got to work really hard actually to steal the ball, to be honest. So, perfect, that's a good spot from everyone. Next group, have you guys got yourselves sorted what you're doing? Good? Show us something different. Yeah, watch for that. Yeah, when you're ready. You got yourself sorted. Go on then. Yeah. Good. Happy. Fine. Good. We're not. You lads are too good. You're too clean. You're not giving any penalties away. Next one round. Next one round. You're giving these lot an easy day. Try and make it harder for them. There we go. Yeah, so nice and easy, nice and simple. Yeah, we're giving a penalty to the blue team, holding on. It's because we've got that active lift and we're trying to pull and he's holding on to the ground. Nice, simple picture in that sense. And it's just making sure we're protecting this guy Sorry? Yeah. So in terms of when you're talking about the pivot round, so when he was tackling, did you think he kept his hands on the player as he went round and then went onto the ball? I think in terms of that side of things, in terms of that pivot situation, if you've got a man coming around and using the ball carrier to get himself round into the right position, what I would say is have a sort of thought process and decision in your mind. Is he preventing him from actually playing the ball? Because I can have hands on him here. He can still play the ball over here, whichever way he goes. So it's just having that understanding wherever he is going to be. If what he's doing, if I'm doing it here and I'm keeping hold of him and pivoting him around like that, he's not going to be able to move anything because it's not going to be secure. So if you've got your weight on him here on his upper body, fine, yeah, that could be one. It's quite a niche one. It's quite a one that you've got to be really in. You're going to have to do a lot of explaining to try and work out why it's not coming out potentially. But yeah, it's a good one to think about and trying to work out what we're going to be doing in terms of pivot points, making sure that player can get round and attack the ball. But then also, as he said, it's showing to us, because it's not, in terms of when we talk about a tackler assist or a tackler who's getting back onto the ball, it's not just a release, it's a clear release, because I could tackle and then just do that and put my hands back on the ball, which lots of guys do in terms of the higher levels of the game, and it makes it really difficult for referees to know and understand, especially if they are maybe not quite where they would like to be, or can't see the ball and can't see that clear release, or there's a player in the way of showing it. So for us as officials, the key word that you have to be able to say to a player, or key phrase is, it's not clear enough, or it's not a clear release. You use clear, then they can't really argue with you, because it's your interpretation of what clear means, rather than there was no release. I say, well, I did release, sir, because he's done that, and he's come back onto the ball. So technically he's right, but likewise, in terms of a game, and for you to try and referee that consistently, if it's not a clear release, and then you can't see it, then it's going to be really difficult to try and maintain that standard throughout the game. Okay, thanks, gents. Have you guys got yourselves sorted? Ready with which one you're doing? Colin's prepped you up. Give these guys a bit of a... Okay, on we go. Oh, whoa, is it? Oh, hang on, stop. Freeze. We've got arms going multiple different ways. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so man coming off his feet. Yeah, nice and easy. Hands past the ball, same as when we're with an attacking or defending player. We want to make sure we're maintaining that body weight. He got there really early, which was perfect, but just comes straight in off his feet, hands past the ball, sealing off, and making sure that they're not going to have that competition. Perfect demonstration. Thanks, lads. Well done. Mixing it up. Next group, we're going again. Here we go. Oh. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got about 30 of us here. We've got maybe a third of us that are giving a penalty. So what were you giving the penalty for? Tackle was complete. Okay, so any other, giving it for the same decision, who gave it? Same decision. Yeah, exactly. So it's really clear, and I know we focus a lot in terms of tackles and breakdowns. We focus a lot on the tackler and the defending players, but likewise, it's one of those ones we're going to work on those attackers as well, making sure that they're doing what they can and they're doing the right thing. You see it quite a lot now because, especially in the sort of top couple of levels where boys do and girls will just release on the floor, jump up, pick the ball up and go again, because a lot of the time the defenders think, oh, if there's supporting players around, we're not going to bother to try and contest for that ball and contest the breakdown. We'll fan out and we'll try and make the defence for the next phase. So it's a really easy play to release, jump up and go again. So perfect, good demonstration. Yes, Corey, these are good.
10-7's one there, and it's
Just hold a second. Correct.
you have to make allowance. I mean, I think the word common sense comes into the game is
Yeah, I completely agree. And in terms of it'll be very different for those of you that are refereeing at different levels on the weekend or from week to week, is to having that consistency with how you're going to referee it. And in your mind, it's one of those ones where we say we need to have clear pictures, but then we're not there to just blow the arse out of it all day, every day. And what is an immediately on a Saturday with two senior teams who are at Premiership level or Premier 15s or Super 6s or whatever it is, that immediately is a lot quicker than if you want a load of youth players who are potentially learning the game a bit more. You've got the disparity in terms of your levels of competency. You might have a slightly different viewpoint on that as to when and how immediately sort of comes to fruition. So yeah, absolutely a really good point in that sense. I tell you what we'll do maybe 5 more, gents, so you don't get too tired. I know you're young, fit lads, but we don't want to do too much. And then we'll just have a few more. Yes, he's going to run out of ideas. That's the thing. That's where we're going to stop it. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Couple more. So, going that way? Okay. You're going that way? Okay, I'll come back to you in a moment. Collapse in ruck, okay? Everyone that went that way, everyone collapse in ruck. Can he pull someone out? Well, yeah, so the penalty was going to the attacking team for getting pulled out of the ruck and collapsing the ruck. Is that? That's what yeah, so, yeah, everyone... In terms of giving a penalty that way, in terms of collapsing the ruck, you don't see it that often in the top couple of levels. Hands up if you see it given in the, or so not necessarily given, but do you see it happen quite a lot in terms of the lower levels? Yeah.
We want to stop dangerous stuff. It's the same as a crocodile.
Yeah.
We generally tell a referee to see that, penalise it.
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that is quite a common one. So if you guys can set yourselves up in that sense, if you stay on the floor as a tackler, please, on this occasion, you just hold off for a moment. If you can roll out the way, that'd be great. So yeah, it is one that we see quite commonly. Where you've got a defender who's over the ball like this, and then someone comes in and collapses it. As in an attacking player comes in to try and clear him out. So what do we call, well, what's a scrum? What is the purpose of a scrum? Restart the game, but then in the sort of main element of the scrum, what is it? It's a pushing contest. Likewise with a ruck, it's a pushing contest. That's what a ruck is that it is that opportunity to try and regain possession, but is a pushing contest, not a pulling contest, not a lifting contest. It is that pushing contest. Is a ruck. Is in a scrum. Do they pull or do they push? Are they allowed to wheel? Is that legally allowed to wheel?
They're pulling and biting on each other.
So pulling and binding is very different, in my opinion. You're allowed to bind because you're not necessarily pulling someone on, because what you're creating stability with that other prop. If you're pulling someone, I would say that's still not allowed. That's not allowed and not legal in that sense. But in terms of the ruck scenario, I'll come to you in a minute. In terms of the ruck scenario, it's one where, as well, I know you mentioned it happens quite a lot at the regional levels in terms of how we are deciding and what we're going to be penalising. If it's something that you want to penalise and it's something that you're going to be going after, that explanation to the teams and talking to the teams beforehand to say, right, this is what I want from the breakdown. I do it quite often to my assistant referees when I'm briefing them, as much as they don't have much of a decision-making process in the breakdown because it tends to be the referee's responsibility. I'll always tell them what I'm looking for, and those are my 3 go-tos. I'll say, right, this is what I want from the tackler, this is what I want from the tackler assist, and this is what I want from everyone else coming in and hitting the breakdown. And so, yeah, that clarity that you can give to the players prior to the game, and then back it up with the sanction level early, if you can. If you get an opportunity to penalise it early, then makes it followable for the players at least. May not be that followable for the supporters because, in terms of my levels, you don't see it getting penalised that often. But challenges are very different between the different levels. You add something else into that? Fair point. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Yeah, or the Jack Willis. Yeah, the Jack Willis side of things. Yeah, yeah.
If you can tell your counterparts, tell your rugby.
I'll try. I'll try to. I can guarantee they won't listen to me, but I'll try to. You're going to mention something earlier.
So that throw is clear and obvious, but if the throw was say you grab him, put him in momentum, and how do you know that?
Mm-hmm. It's that balance, isn't it? So if we've got two players over the top, so what we do is reenact that scenario. So if he's going to be the attacking player, you're going to sort of gently guide him towards the ground. In that sense, rather than just yark him off his feet. keep his contact. Jump up again. I'll try and help with the demonstration side of things. So yeah, it's very difficult because if I'm here as a defender and he comes to hit me out, and then I lose the contest, and then I come and I get pulled over, and I go down with him. What is that? Is he pulling him down to ground, or is it I've lost the contest and I've been put off balance? So yeah, it's a good question. And as far as I'm concerned, as the way I would look to try and referee it, if that contest, it also has an effect on what happens behind. If he comes and clears me out, and then we blast past the ruck like that, and I fall over here, and it leaves a clear breakdown, and this man comes and picks the ball up. Yep. Is that something that we want to give, or is that something we want to think, all right, let's play on? It's difficult. It's not easy. It's one of those ones where you've got to have that solid philosophy in your mind. What do I think is positive play? That's where it comes back to a positivity side of things. Have I been positive? He may just have lost the breakdown collision. And is that his fault? No. He's tried to be positive by trying to make an effective defensive clear out in a ruck, but he's lost the battle. So it's one where you just got to have a picture in your mind and that to be backed up by a philosophy behind it to say, right, well, I don't think anyone's done actually anything. There will be some potentially illegal things that go on, but they haven't done anything which is negative. So then we can try and reward positive play as best we can. Okay, thank you, gents. Next group, we'll maybe do two more because I'm conscious we need to get early in for lunch, so we can get first on. Send a runner, yeah. Okay, fine. Was that what you planned? Fine. Don't do anything. Perfect. That's not a concept. Have we still got a ruck though? Okay. Sorry, what did you say, sir, at the back? Correct. So you've got to tackle with offside lines. If you guys actually can come and recreate that scenario, you don't have to run it through. Just get to the point where you had the tackle with offside lines. Not a ruck. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll just bring that ball a little bit further in. There we go. So yeah, we've got to tackle with offside lines, but in terms of how we're going to referee it, it's going to be pretty similar in terms of if anyone else tries to come in, from the defending side at least, that we're going to have to referee it exactly the same. But yeah, it's being really clear, and then also having that clear understanding as to what tackle with offside lines means compared to a traditional ruck, because you've still got offside lines, as it says, the tackle offside lines, but everything else around it has got to be refereed the same. You were going to yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And it's like identifying, is that because they physically can't stop because they've not got the fitness and the ability to pull back out of that?
Yeah, completely agree. And it's having that balance again in terms of what you're wanting to sanction on a weekend. And I think it's really difficult at the community game in terms of wanting to get a game out of it, wanting that competitive element to it as well. And then also, because I know everyone plays rugby, you can talk to all of these coaches and whatever we've got elsewhere as to what do they want to do. They want to win. most of the time. Doesn't matter what level you're at. You want to win. That's why you play in rugby. So you want to be in that competitive nature. So it's really difficult, or it's a really fine art for a referee to try and find that balance between competitiveness, what you're going to be sanctioning, making sure you can be consistent with what you're doing as well in terms of the sanction levels, but then also providing that competitive element to allow one team to win or not as such. There was a hand up from the chant in the green. So in terms of just making sure when I kick the ball back in, that's what you meant. So if he steps over the ball is long placed out there, outside his back foot, what happens? What's the problem? Open play and come in from wherever they want, because the ball is out. So they can come. I can come in around here as a maroon and brown, pick the ball up and play away. Whereas if the ball's in here, it's still a tackle with offside lines. That was the scenario. Lady here with the glasses. No. Yeah, absolutely. They don't necessarily need to all the time. And I don't know if anyone watched it. Was that game England against Italy in the Six Nations 5 years ago when with offside lines came up, and just watched the first half. Yeah. So yeah, but they very quickly changed that law to make sure that couldn't happen again. And we had something pretty similar recently, but it's gone out of my mind as to what it was. And the thought process is that they will change the law quite quickly, but I'll remember it. And if anyone wants to come, sorry. That's been around for a long time, but yeah, correct. Well, there's feeding in the scrum as well. We're not getting onto that. Sorry. No, it was something else. I've forgotten, but it will come back to me. Thanks, gents. We're going to one last one. Colin, set them up for a brand spanker. It's going to baffle us all. Never seen anything like it. Okay. Age grade rugby. Yeah, I was going to say. We've got loads of arms going here. And talking about age grade rugby, we're seeing the players that we've got. Yeah. You would vote to ban squeeze ball. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Sorry. In that scenario, I would have said yes, because what we had is the man in the squeeze ball position and the defender got there quickly and was on the ball. Yeah. Well, where in that scenario is maybe slightly different now, but where he was when the ball's underneath him, yeah. I think what we do agree and allow is if he's making that lift and he can't steal it because his body and he's purposely put himself in the way, so you can't make that steal. Yes, it's definitely a penalty to the defending side. It's really key and really important. And we're laughing and joking. When he was down in the first instance, the first picture that we had when we had it in live play, the ball was underneath him. He was on the ball. The second time when he started, he put the ball back in his legs, and having that ball-centric view to know and see where the ball is, because as much as he may not have done what he did where he got tackled and then rolled onto his front and put the ball back between his legs, if he has a dominant carries over the top of someone and just happens to land on his front because the tackler has effectively just rolled back over and taken him that way. If you land on your front, is that illegal? If you don't change your body position, you just put the ball back between your legs? In adult rugby. Correct. If you make it available, you put it back through your legs. So it's really important to have that context, ball-centric awareness of where the ball is. Is there someone who's able to steal it, and is he in a legal position to be able to steal it and go from there? So ball-centric to start with in terms of a breakdown, and then widen that vision up outside of that. We'll go one more. Yeah, one more. If you test him, one more. Thanks, boys. Well done. Yes. Sorry.
We've done a lot around stealing the ball with jackal. I'm a coach, not a referee.
Yep.
So I'm just learning how
No, it's fine.
But we haven't done a lot on the clearing out of the jackal and making sure that's legal.
Yeah, that's fine. What we'll do one last one and then we'll come to that. That's perfect. Good question. Okay, last one in this sense, and then we're going to go into the clearing out of that jackal. When you're ready, gents. Good tackle. Oh. Good. Okay. Perfect. Nice and easy, nice and simple. Yeah, very good. Five penalties. Perfect. Yeah, so obviously rolling, not release, and we're going to have a penalty that way. Can I borrow two of you, please? One pink, one blue. Doesn't matter who you are. And then we'll have another blue who's going to be, oh sorry, another pink who's going to be ready to clear out. You guys be tackled. You're going to be the jackler. So up you jump. Yeah, so you're up on your feet and then you jackal. So, question from one of the coaches was, we haven't looked too much at the clearing out and the effective clearing out and what we decide is legal to clear out of a jackler. So in terms of technique-wise, it's different in terms of what we look at technique-wise as a coach out or as a player. How are you going to clear someone out compared to what we're looking at as a referee as to how we're allowing people to clear it out. We have talked very briefly in terms of that pulling that player off. So I don't think we would look to, which does happen quite a lot though, is when you've lost the breakdown and you as the attacking player pull that man off his feet. And then usually what you'll do is you pull him off his feet and then roll him to one side. A lot of the time we let that go. Do you think we should be letting that go? Not positive, correct. The sort of caveat to that I would suggest is, can you guarantee, or not guarantee, but can you referee it consistently every time to say, I know that man has pulled him back out and collapsed that ruck intentionally, or if we get to a position like this man might decide, right, well, I've got someone on top of me, I'm just going to start driving out and drive me out instead, and then I collapse it like that. It's similar to when you had the flip reverse round where you've got that defending player. It's can we make that judgment and the judgment call of, right, that man's over the ball, has it been an intentional collapse, or have I just lost the contest?
The intentional one's normally static.
Yeah.
And then they move it.
Yeah.
The counter ruck is a counter ruck stand, and then whatever happens after that, they're out of the ruck, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. So you have that bit where the man's over the ball, and you get to the position where he comes in to try and clear him out, but doesn't succeed. Tries to clear him out and doesn't succeed, then thinks, sugar, I'm going to potentially lose this ball, so I'm going to roll in one way or t'other and look to collapse that ruck. So does that help in terms of a little bit of one technique and one thing that we're looking at as referees? Question?
Yeah, just with the new law changes, the concept of like the stirred and stuff.
Yep.
How would you referee that in a ruck?
No change. It's tackle. That's centered around the tackle side of things. Yeah, well, I think it would be it'll be really difficult, and there will be a sort of a bedding in process. I'm assuming up here it'll be a bedding in process, same with it is down in England, as to how that's all going to get refereed. And I'm hoping that Colin and his team will be sending out daily, if not weekly, updates as to what you're supposed to be doing in terms of refereeing and different scenarios as to what the sort of drivers are for you guys as referees, as to how we're going to be dealing with different entities that flare up over time. Good, yeah, absolutely.
So, we're doing the road shows and everybody's come out to them, thanks for that, it's great. What we're doing at the back of that, we're going to try and summarise everything together, put webinars together and all that sort of stuff with all the findings. Because as we've been doing stuff like this has come up with questions, and we're saying actually a lot of stuff is based on the tackle, not the clear out, and we're changing our dynamics slightly on the ball carrier's responsibility as well. So we're learning as we're going through the system, if you like, and then we're going to summarise stuff again pre-season right through July and August. There'll still be, as I say, lots and lots of information coming for you guys, so that we've got a clearer picture as possible. One of the big things will be, we'll see how it goes in a game, and then we'll have a much better idea as to stuff. But we're going to put a lot of sessions on with players like this, so that we can clarify points as we go along.
No, that's fine. Could you shift yourself 90 degrees to the other way around? So you're going to face that way. Sorry. Go your legs there, head there, and you're going to face that way towards them, if that's okay. Yeah, that's the one. So just to give you a front-on view of this chap here, I'll just shift you to manually do it. There you go. Right, there we go. That's what I want. Yeah, exactly. I think I blasted out of them in the first 5 minutes, so I was getting jackal. So in terms of you asking about techniques, man over the ball, if you just bring the ball a little bit closer to you, please. And then you get yourself over the ball like that. Perfect. In terms of refereeing techniques and also in terms of coaching techniques, when we're looking at that situation, I think we're all pretty happy. And correct me if I'm wrong, as a group of referees, if you wanted to come and clear someone out, he's giving us a nice, easy picture here where he's got his leg in front of the player, so it gives us a nice lever to be able to pick up and shift out in that sense. Likewise, if he's got his hands on the ball here, what we can do is pull one arm out. If we're going to try and clear him out, pull the arm away and then drive him off that way is another technique which I think we would all be happy with. The ones that we're not, as we've described, if you lose that contest, you go on someone's back. And secondly, if someone comes into that position there and just comes straight off feet, which we didn't see in Colin's scenario, so that'll be one for his memory bank next time. We didn't see is that man, defenders in early, and then you get that second player coming straight off the feet and diving in and going straight off as the bridge / sealing off in that scenario. Does that help in terms of answering sort of questions? I think in terms of, as referees, are there any queries in terms of the clearing out side of things that we have at a breakdown as to what's legal, not legal? What do you think we should be? There's a question there, is it coming?
Alana would like a demonstration of a legal clear out.
A legal one or illegal?
Legal. Alana wants to see how low we've got to get to do it.
Right.
Usually you get complaints from players being like, oh, that was high when they get cleared out.
Right.
It's nice to see what it should actually look like rather than just being like,
Okay, in terms of the height of when he's getting cleared out.
yeah, what should it actually look like?
Okay, I'm sure the boys will be able to help with that. We'll do it end on to start with, and then we'll do a side on view as well, just so we can get a view from both angles. So, I think
Because the shoulder's still hitting here though, so does that not matter?
shoulder's fine, because it's not a tackle and it's a ruck. The law around it's slightly different in terms of, obviously it's a high tackle. If you hit someone up here, then it's going to be a high tackle. We'll do a side on view as well in terms of the angles as to where we're getting. If you put your right foot forwards, and then if you come on that side as to where you're going to be going. So he gets himself in, and the analogy that we use quite a lot in the coaching stratosphere is planes taking off rather than planes landing. So if you could imagine, if the man's over the ball there, if I'm a plane landing like that, obviously I have to have my arms out, so I've got my aeroplane so I can actually make contact. So I've got my wings here. If I'm going in like that and going down over, I'm a plane landing and I'm only going to go one way. Whereas what we try and coach in terms of coaching side of things is you get your feet close to that breakdown and you've got your body low here and then you're driving up and away that way, again, with arms. Because if you haven't got the arms, then it's not a clear out. It's just a shoulder charge. So then that is something that's sanctionable. Thank you, sir. You spent a lot of time on the ground. You've been appreciated.
The second one is not going to be done at pace, and that's the reason why it's not being the same interpretation as the sternum, because it's not done at pace.
The taking off one. You'll find that people will do it at a lot of pace most of the time. They'll be able to get themselves. They'll be well coached. They'll be athletes as such. They'll be able to get themselves into that position quite easily and get that plane taking off quite quickly. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Targeting the leg.
Yep. Yep. So that's a good one. Actually, gents, can I borrow two of you again? So that's the sort of crocodile roll effect and also the targeting of the lower limbs. So if we're looking at that one, if we get ourselves down as a tackled player again, sorry, you've been really good at this all day. It's just been the same position. So if this chap's showing that leg is stepped over the breakdown, if you do the other one so they can see on this side, please. No, you're good. You stay where you are. He just puts his other leg forwards. So in terms of attacking the lower limbs, it's effectively not necessarily where that person starts, but where he ends up and where his body continues to go. So if I was to planes taking off, you're lifting and you're going back up, so you're not attacking that lower limb. You've seen it with, I think it was one of the New Zealand players. He came in from a side of a breakdown in the Super Rugby, and he came in from that angle and dived at his knee. So he came in there and just dived straight through and just went straight off his feet. So in terms of a first up clear out, that's what we're looking for. It is the ones that we will pick up and ones that will be really obvious are where they're just directly targeting those lower limbs. The ones where you have the awkward twists and accidental ones where if you've lifted someone out and a stud gets stuck or a boot gets stuck in the ground, those aren't the ones that we're looking for. But then again, there was a game that I was television match official for in Newcastle, whereby it was Nick Dolly, who was the England second row, plays for Leicester. Hooker, plays for Leicester. He was a jackler, really effective position in the jackal, and it was that point whereby the defender had, the attacking player had lost the speed to the breakdown, so he was here, and then what he did is all of his weight. We'll do it on that side. You switch your legs around, please, for me. Thank you. So what he did, he'd lost that battle and that speed to the breakdown, but then all of his weight, because he'd lost, he then shoved everything, all of his weight down, went down onto there, and things went that way, or the ways they shouldn't have done. So effectively, that's what you want to be looking for, is that direct targeting from the first initial contact, but then it's also a secondary element, which is the same as the Jack Willis one with the England-Italy game, whereby I think it was Sebastian Green, wasn't it? He comes in, he was late to the breakdown, having a rescue situation where he's trying to keep his team to keep possession, comes in late to the breakdown, loses that collision, and then thinks, there's nothing else I can do here. I'm just have to try and get him out by any means possible, and then all of that weight then drops onto an exposed bit which doesn't bend that way, unfortunately. So that's the sort of things that we try and look at and try and pick out, and it's not easy when you're doing it live, because all you'll see is the end result, i.e. someone's on the floor in a lot of pain, but hopefully there are some clearer ones whereby you see there's that pause moment, and then someone does something slightly different compared to the first instance whereby they'll just come in and fly in recklessly at someone's joints. Red t-shirt, sir?
So I had a game where the player was prop roll itself is not, my understanding is it's not being bad. But then as soon as you say there, if you prop roll and fall on the leg, then that then becomes a yellow card.
It could be more than that as well if you deem it to be. So, yeah.
But it seems the same motion. You can be lucky and do nothing, or you can be unlucky and end up setting.
There's an element. You say you mentioned it is either lucky or unlucky. You as a player who are going in to perform those actions, you have to take into account as a player as to everyone else's safety around you, or you should be. If you're not, then you're probably in the wrong sport. But you should be taking into account everyone's safety around it. So you might get away with it once, but likewise, I think, in my personal opinion, the crocodile roll side of things, it's not necessarily something which should be banned outrightly at the moment. However, would you classify that as collapsing a ruck?
Yes.
For me, I would probably classify it as that. At the moment, they're saying that it's fine and it's legal. It's not collapsing a ruck. Would it be able to come into a dangerous play element? I think it probably should do, because it's a scary position to be in when you're that man over the ball or lady over the ball who's waiting there, and then someone starts twisting you and you've got a foot stuck in the ground and you can't move it anywhere, and it's only going to go one way.
In that position, I know it's not fun, but it's hard to explain to a player that, yes, what he's done, it could be a penalty, but you're not hurt. It's not. If you try and explain
I think it's not necessarily that, because that's in law, it's the thin skull rule, whereby if you hit someone on the head, they might have a thin skull and they might get an injury, but you can't always referee on the outcome. In terms of if someone just jumps up and plays on, then it's fine and it's legal. So it is the targeting of that lower limb, which is in law, is the thing that we need to go after. So if you're happy that you clearly have seen someone looking to target and drop their weight all the way through those lower limbs, that's the thing you should go after. If it's a scenario whereby the man's over the ball, and if you're crocodile rolling him out and all of your weight just comes onto the floor down here and it misses him, and then you just sort of roll him over the top at the moment, that's not something that's illegal. However, it probably should be. So it's that differentiation and separation between, has he targeted that lower limb and dropped all of his body weight onto that lower limb, or is he just trying to roll off and roll someone over the top of him? True. That's very true. In terms of where we are, we're 2 minutes past 12. So that's going to be the end of the first session today. I'm doing tap and tackle. I think some will have signed, some maybe not, on decision making up in the tack and tackle after lunch. Could I just before we ask any more questions, give a big thank you to the Fettes College boys for our demonstrations. This man needs to go and do some running because he's just lay down all day and had a snooze for most of it, but thank you very much. But any other sort of queries in terms of refereeing the breakdown at the moment? Obviously, I think the sort of main takeaways, as we discussed at the start, are those key priorities, what you want out of a breakdown from every game. It's being able to communicate that to the players and the coaches as well, because the coaches have always got a say in it and always want to have their pennies worth on it. But then also it's making sure that we've got that consistency as to how we referee it, how we can try and be consistent for ourselves, taking those clear and obvious decisions and having really good pictures in our mind. Hopefully today and what we've been doing has been able to give you those opportunities to see in a practice environment where we can stop, talk for 2 or 3 minutes on that decision and why we're getting to that decision, has given you the ability to say, right, well, there's a clear picture in my mind as to I know what someone coming off their feet is, someone making a clear attempt for the ball, going past the ball and then getting cleared back onto it. That's one for Colin we'll do next time because we didn't have that one in the demos. But yeah, hopefully that's helped in that sense. But is there any other queries that we've got on this part of it? Yes, sir. Yep. Mm-hmm. So what I would say in that scenario, whereby if I throw the man to the ground, if he gets on the ball before it's gone to the ground, the tackle's not complete first. It's a sort of a staged process. The tackle has to be complete. The person has to then roll away. Then he has to go onto the ball. So, and it's really frustrating for a player because he says, "Oh, sir, well, I've released and I've done this and I've done that." And you say, "Well, look, the tackle wasn't complete. Wait until he's on the floor, then let go, then attack the ball again." Yeah, tackle not complete. Wait for the man to hit the floor. And keep it nice and short and simple. You don't need to keep explaining. Just give it to him once. If he doesn't understand, talk to him in the bar afterwards with a pint. You're on by it, yeah. Good. Any other queries and questions? Right, well, thank you very much for the first day. I think we're first finish out here, so we're going to be able to get ourselves some lunch. Scran, exactly. Thank you.